Hi guys, I am going to go through the first short essay for this class called A Day in the Life of Me, and if this is the very first video that you're watching for the course, I want you to pause and go back and go through, make sure that before this point, I know you will have done the mandatory enrollment activity. If somehow you are in this video and you have not done the mandatory enrollment activity, please go back and do that and let me know. And then also go through the course tour video and go through the syllabus overview video. If you are watching this video and you're in one of my face-to-face classes, you can ignore all of that, but this video is intentionally made for my online course. So moving along, the purpose of this is just to kind of walk you through the assignment here, the first very small, very low stakes essay. And if you have questions, of course, I want you to email me or ask me. I usually just read through my assignment sheets with you here and pause to add commentary. Sometimes I'll just quickly kind of paraphrase a section so that you don't have to listen to me read something that you could read on your own. But if you have additional questions as I'm going through this, just please let me know. Alright, so the overview of this is just the essay is designed for me to gauge kind of a couple of things. I want to know where you're at in terms of writing, and I want to make sure that as I'm assessing your initial kind of here's where I am as a writer, I don't want you to have to, lose too many points if you're further behind than where you should be at the start of the course. So this is a very low stakes assignment. It's only worth 50 points. The other thing is that it helps me learn more about you. I think that it's really important that we make connections with the people we spend our lives around, even if that's for a short period of time. So I don't know you all very well, but this gives me the opportunity to just know more about you. And I also feel like it gives you the opportunity to have someone actually listen to what it's like to be you for a day. And you can do that in a number of ways. Some people might pour their heart and soul into this essay, and other people might be very guarded and just walk me through their footstep path on what they do on a daily basis. Either of those options is perfectly fine. So if you feel like an essay about yourself is too much of a kind of an expose on you, you can build walls around the essay, and I'm okay with that. The other thing this essay gives me the opportunity to do is assess where your paragraph writing is. Not so much assess it, but really kind of reinforce it throughout the first unit and make sure that you have a full handle on what we mean when we say paragraphs, because I think that that is the most important building block of writing an essay. You've got to make sure that you understand paragraph structures, paragraph supporting details, things like that. So we're going to be focusing on those things really specifically in this first unit, and then even more so in further units. But this is going to get us a good kind of baseline for the rest of the semester. So I'm looking at the prompt and instructions here. It says, an essay prompt titled A Day in the Life of Me, short essay is exactly what it sounds like. I want you to write a 3-page MLA formatted essay. It should have an introduction, it should have body paragraphs with supporting details, and you should end with a conclusion. And in that essay, I want you to tell me about a day in your life. And you can pick a weekday, you can pick a weekend. If they're all the same, it doesn't really matter. You can even kind of fudge things a little bit and blend your weekday and your weekend together depending on your writing style and what you want to include. What is, I think, going to be the most important thing as you are walking through this essay is knowing that even though it's a day in the life of you, it needs to have some kind of focus. It still needs to have a thesis statement that kind of guides me through, whatever you decide to focus on and tell me about in your day. You know, obviously you can't write me an essay that says, first I wake up and I get out of bed and then I walk down to the bathroom and then I brush my teeth, and while I'm brushing my teeth I'm singing a Britney Spears song, and then I go downstairs and eat a bowl of cereal, and usually it's exactly 10 grams of Cheerios, and you know, like that is not an organized essay. That is a mind barf of just your daily footsteps. So you know, make sure that you have some kind of organization, and you have a couple of options. You can organize your essay chronologically, where you say, like, in the morning, here's kind of what my day looks like. In the middle of the day, or when it's still daylight out, this is what my day looks like. And then at night, this is what my night or day looks like. That would be a really great organizational pattern for someone who kind of has a schedule every day that doesn't really change, but I think that might be a safe starting point, and I would encourage most of you to consider alternative methods of organization, still relying on a focal point, but I think incorporating a little bit more creativity in this assignment. And that's sort of housed under this non-chronological order examples, and there are a lot of other ways to organize your daily life, but these are the ones I could think of when I was coming up with this assignment. So one of the things I thought would be interesting is, you know, if you organized your essay by like where you find yourself on a typical day. So if you begin and end at home, you could have a whole paragraph about just like your life at home. And then if you go to school, then you can have a paragraph about, you know, a typical day going to school and what it's like there, or at work, a typical day at work, and just kind of like working in more of, instead of chronological order, more of like a spatial organization. You know, this is what I'm doing when I'm spending my time in this location versus here or here or here. The other thing I was thinking about in terms of an organizational pattern is to organize your body paragraphs based on various emotions that you have throughout the day. And I think this would work really well for someone who is like in tune to their emotions and how they feel about things, and also has like various emotions throughout the day. You know, if you're just kind of bleh all day, like I know everyone has those days, but if every day is like that, then this might not be the best style for you. But if you find yourself working through like happiness and maybe like concern or nervousness or something like that, then you could, and you feel like that's your daily life is all these different emotions, that would be a really interesting way to present yourself, and that would be perfectly fine to do. The other thing I was thinking about is for those of you who like almost like you have a soundtrack for your day and you listen to different music throughout various points. I think of this because I feel somewhat similar. Like when I'm driving to work, I'm always listening to like really intense, loud, like angsty music because it kind of gets me like pumped up and ready for the day. But then on my way home, I'll be listening to like kids music because I have a 2-year-old and I have to pick him up from school, or daycare, but we call it school. And then like at night, maybe I'm listening to calming music because I'm just trying to relax and go to bed or something like that. So it's helping me kind of, again, organize my essay. It sounds, when I say it out loud, very chronological still, but it's a good way to focus. And then, you know, alternatively, you could organize your essay based on activities that you do. So, you know, if you have like, maybe you are unschooled or something like that, and you don't have any kind of like school structure or work or whatever, but you have like art in your life, or dance, or baseball, or shopping, or whatever, then you could always organize it that way. And these are not the only 4-5 options. You have, you know, be creative, but make sure that your essay has a focal point. Again, any kind of like this, like just a non-logical organizational expression of your daily life is not what I'm looking for here. I do have a rubric, and I'm not going to go through every single column and table, but what I'm going to talk about is just the basic stuff. And these are going to be the things that we have focused on in this unit, and that's why I'm evaluating them. I'm going to look at formatting. This is just super basic MLA format. We're not talking about including any references or source material or anything like that. So it is just the basic stuff. I'm going to look at your thesis statement. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about those and how to write a thesis statement for this essay. Most of, again, what I've talked about in this video and also what I'm evaluating for this assignment is organization. I want you to make sure you have a clear introduction that sets up your body paragraphs, which support your thesis statement, and that your essay ends with a conclusion. You don't want to just get started, this is the first thing I do, and in your very first paragraph, you still need to have an introduction. Then body paragraph 1 can be your, here's my first focal point that I'm going to tell you about my daily life using. And we're going to go through notes on that and everything along those lines. And then the other thing that I am evaluating you on is development and grammar. So development is just, can you write using details to support your ideas, or are you having a hard time writing full body paragraphs that are logically developed in a kind of a complex way? And then of course I'm looking at grammar, but a very small portion of this grade is grammar. And just check, depending, I'm assuming all of you watching this video are in my online class, so that means that your assignment will be submitted in Blackboard on the week it's due. So just make sure that you're looking at your course schedule to find those due dates, and if you have questions on where to find anything, let me know. So this is just kind of an overview of this essay, and if after you've watched this video you want to know more or you have questions and you haven't already, read through the assignment sheet, but then also send me an email. And my email is losburn, that's my first initial and my last name, at mitchellcc.edu.